All right, you guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over why I think you should hold on to your Titan crystals. That way you're not making a titanic mistake. Um, so first and foremost, I just want to talk about kind of how I'm going to do this. Talk about in general the crystal, how the updates are going to work, for future crystals, and the comparison that we're going to make between the crystal that we're losing and the one that's updating right now, and then maybe even the next one. So first, the group here at the top with Serpent, Dust, Ironheart, Destroyer, Blade, and Luke Cage is the group that's leaving the Titan Crystal. So they're no longer going to be included. They're joining the base pool. So it's actually a really good time to open your 7-star crystals if you've been hoarding those up at all. Because Serpent's now joining, so you've got a more often, you'll have opportunities of getting him. As Titans don't come around as often, but 7-stars do. And unfortunately, I mean, that's a really, really good group. So that's kind of the first note I want to make is that that group is really good. Ironheart's killing it in Alliance War right now. She's also really good for the new season of Raids. Dust is a great defender and an underrated attacker, in my opinion. Serpent, of course, being the most dominant defensive force we've seen in this game. The Destroyer, who's doing really well in a lot of Battlegrounds metas. Currently, in the Crit Me meta, he's doing really well, as you can't intercept him as easily without pretty specific counters. He's good in Alliance War 2 on defense. Otherwise, I'm not sure where his place is. Blade is probably the weakest of this group, and I mean, that guy used to be great. I remember the Blade Trinity synergies with Stark Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. That was great. It's just not his time right now. Luke Cage had the most insane buff, I feel like, this year. There's been a few good buffs, and we'll talk about those. But Luke Cage specifically is doing so great. I've got a rank 2 myself. Actually pulled him from 2 Titan crystals in a row, and I was mad at the time, but I'm pretty happy about it now. Anyway, that group's leaving, and so really what we're looking at are these 3 groups right here, numbers 1, 2, and 3. So group number 1, so this is the group that will leave next. That's kind of how this is in order. Um, you've got Spider-Punk, who in my opinion is pretty underrated. He's got great utility, and he's getting a buff. So we do know that the rebalance program is going to buff him, and so he's only going to get better. So that's good. Prowler, I just think Prowler's cool. I'd like a Prowler. Negasonic Teenage Warhead's good. Bullseye counter shuts down most of the skill class, which, to be honest with you, the 7-star skill pool is very, very defensive based. Other than, you've got Shang-Chi in there, who's pretty much a solo attacker, but otherwise, there's a lot of great defenders in the skill class. So Negasonic Teenage Warhead's really useful there. Silver Sable's probably the weakest of this group by far. She could really use a rework. Not rework, but a buff. Tweak some things here and there. There's plenty of people out there that think she's underrated, but to be completely fair, she could use some work. Symbiote Supreme is like a semi good serpent counter, so he's seen a lot of popularity. Nova, super underrated. That guy's awesome. So really good group here. Um, so that's a plus for this crystal for sure. The problem here is really the second group. So that's Arcade, and I'll point out the one specifically. So it's Arcade, North Star, the Patriot, and the Leader. All 4 of them being new champions, it's really, really rough to see that they're not doing so hot. So North Star being like a long form content isn't really even in the same comparison with someone like Kate Bishop. You know, you figure if your sole design is for long form content, you should probably be better than someone like Kate Bishop, or at least you'd hope for that, right? The Patriot's supposed to be, your photon counter, and it's really not. He's not really living up to it so much. Kingpin still does great. He's kind of like a miniature version of Kingpin, just maybe not as strong. So the Leader, I think, has the most potential in my opinion. A few tweaks here and there, and I think the Leader could be really awesome. Has a great amount of control and utility. It's just using the green door as your sole form of damage is a little tough. Uh, Requires good spacing control. And then Arcade um, isn't good on attack whatsoever. He's more of a defensive champion, but isn't doing too hot. There's plenty of champions that take care of Arcade with ease, not as much issues. All you got to really do is bypass auto block, and you're fine. And the funny part about this group with Group 2 is that it's Superior Iron Man and Hood that actually save this group. They both, or sorry, Hood didn't receive a buff. Superior Iron Man did receive a buff, and he's doing phenomenal right now. The Hood is just a good champion. I will say you do want the dupe. It's not necessary. His damage output, um, with the bullets and his heavy attacks are still fine. It's really just the power steal that you're missing out on. So you're losing a little bit of utility. So you would like the dupe. Now, Group 3. So Group 3 is coming in. That includes Beta Ray Bill, the Enchantress, Count Nefaria, Shathra, the infamous Iron Man, and Black Widow Deadly Origin. Um, this looks like a good group too. So I totally get it, and I feel like at least 1-to-1, you're losing Serpent in this crystal, but you are getting Enchantress, who is a phenomenal defender right now. Um, on some Alliance War nodes is nearly impossible. Um, has her own little mini game that you're forced to play in order to even be able to compete. Essentially, Beta Ray Bill's doing good. I feel like he was hyped up a lot, and with all of that hype, he turned out to not meet expectations. And I don't think that means he's a bad champion. I think he's a great champion. I just think people's expectations for Beta Ray Bill were a bit elevated. Count Nefaria is doing so good. I don't know why I don't hear too much about him, but that guy's crushing it in plenty of aspects of the game. Shathra, I haven't seen too much, but we know that she's going to be really, really useful against champions like Maestro and maybe even Serpent. Really good Mystic champion. And so to note, actually, this is the first time in the Titan Crystal that a single group has had two of the same class. So with Enchantress and Shathra, you have two Mystics now. So a mutant champion is being left out. So that may influence future crystals. And to be honest with you guys, Infamous Iron Man is good. He's kind of a hard bishop counter, but there's plenty of those now. You've got even just the original Iron Man buff, Ironheart. Honestly, if you're Incinerate immune and you can Dex the special too, Bishop's not the biggest threat anymore. And I think Idoom's really cool. Love the look of the champion. It's just not someone I'd want to get out of a Titan Crystal. And to me, Black Widow Deathly Origins here, I think it's a great champion. If she had come out earlier in the 7-star pool, I feel like she'd be a whole lot more popular. She's kind of a better version of Silver Sable, to be honest. And she's going to do great things, I have no doubt. But I feel like her time's a little past. There's plenty of other skilled champions that are likely sought after instead of her. But I think she'll do well. But it's just out of a Titan Crystal specifically, you're wanting to get new champions. So that's what I want to talk about next. So this is the crystal that we're going to be having. But I want to talk about future champions, and this is why I think that you should hold your Titan crystals for either the next update in December or, depending on how things go, maybe even February. That's a bit of a push, but at least December, because you've got Scream is coming, you have Jack O' Lantern is coming. Then, while this isn't confirmed, it's all but confirmed. We know that Dazzler and Spiral are likely going to be our November champion. So those four for sure will be included in the December update. And then two more champions. I've got Apocalypse and Stealth Suit Spidey here. They're just kind of placeholders. I think would be cool. I'm not making a total prediction. I just think it would be neat to see those champions come up. I think it's their time, um, because Apocalypse has fallen off a bit, being just a 6-star, and so I think a 7-star would be great. And then I think Stealth Spidey would add to a little bit more of the attacker pool for the skill class. But either way, you've got great champions coming up. And to me, it's more specifically about Scream. We've seen a lot of content of Scream come out, and I think she's a champion worth waiting for. So that's just something to consider when you're looking at these Titan crystals. Isn't just comparing to the past, right? Because that's kind of a sunk cost. That's already gone. Nothing you can do about it. But I do want to say you need to think about the future of the Titan pool. And so to me, the next update being December, I think is going to be honest with you, it's really when the group 2 leaves, when Arcade and that whole group leave. I think the Titan pool is going to get a whole lot better. That just might be the major problem, but holding out to February is tough. I think I think we can do it, guys. I think we can do it. You can hold out until December. I think everybody starts pulling Scream. That'd be so cool. I know there's probably a few people with a lot of Titan crystals. I myself have 4 that I'm hoping to use, but nonetheless, this is why I think that you should wait. And I hope that helps you guys out in kind of deciding on what you're going to do. And just give me your thoughts. I'd like to hear what you guys think, who you're looking to get, why you are going to open your Titan crystals or why you are not. I'd love to hear it, and we can have a good talk about that. But I hope that helps you guys out, and I wish you guys the best of luck in the battle realm, my friends.